Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Getting Into TV. This week, I'm joined by Georgina Bobb, who's going to be talking to me all about production management. And I'm really excited for you to hear this one. We had a great chat just all about what she does in production management, but also she gave me some CV tips that I'm so excited to share with you. She's a real good cheerleader for new people wanting to get into the industry, and I really do recommend checking out her website if you can. She is an amazing person. I hope you enjoy this episode of the show. Thank you, Georgina, for agreeing to be on this podcast. I'm so excited to chat to you after having a little look on your website and your LinkedIn the other day, so thank you.
God bless you. Well, I'm glad to be here.
So I reckon the best place to start would be for you to tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me, what do you do? What's your job role?
Okay, so I'm a freelance television production manager. I've worked in the industry for 15 years. I've worked predominantly for independent production companies and broadcasters, helping them with managing projects or productions or series. My job entails me writing budgets, me writing schedules and managing projects from pre to post. And by that means pre-production, which is the planning stage, production, which is the filming stage, and post-production, which is the editing stage, all the way up into delivery, which is where the channel receives the final file of the project and then it is then broadcasted. So I see projects from beginning to end. So that's what I do. But I also am a career coach and I'm also a CV writer and an educator. I'm very, very passionate about helping everyone, regardless of who you are, what you do, what color you are, what gender you are, whoever you are, enter the industry because it is fantastic, it's dynamic, it's fast paced at more than it's very fast paced at times. But I would just say, generally speaking, it's a really great industry to be in, and I'm glad to be a part of that.
I would completely agree with you on all of that, especially on the fast-paced point that you made. I mean, we're about to go live on Crime Watch on Monday. I suppose when you're listening to this, we're already live on Crime Watch on air for the next 3 weeks. So as you can imagine, it is hectic in the studio in this office right now. So it's just crazy and it's insane, but the best kind. And so I completely agree with you on that. But I also agree on the fact that TV is for everyone. I mean, you should help everyone because it just makes TV a better place.
Exactly that. I'm so passionate about equality and diversity and inclusion. And that doesn't necessarily just mean like where you're from, but that means absolutely everyone. And I think that there are a lot of initiatives and discussions and things taking place regarding making the industry more inclusive. But is it really doing enough? And I feel that, it's something that I'm very passionate about. And the reason why I'm in the industry is to ensure that there is true inclusion. And by that, I mean one for one. And one for one means you have one person that's Black, one person that's white, you have one person that's disabled, one person that's non disabled, one person that's female, one person that's male, or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
I feel that there should be a true reflection of absolutely everybody within society that works on screen and behind the scenes in the industry, because essentially it's just important. It's equality. And I think the media industry is very powerful. And I also think that, working within the television industry, that as workers or people that are part of the production teams, it's also our responsibility to ensure that we are putting out content that has a positive effect and also informative and educational and entertaining and even factual, all of those sorts of genres or subjects that we cover in the broad range of the media industry. I do feel that it's just key that we are just more inclusive, truly, you know?
Completely, absolutely. And by having a true inclusive environment, you get better content as well. It absolutely shows on screen when you have that inclusive and more happy environment. And what I really like to do first off, And what I'd really like to ask you first off is I'd like to take you back to when you were younger. What was the job that you always wanted to do when you were younger, and what shows was it that got you interested in TV? I'll know a bit about why you fell in love with this mad, crazy world.
Okay, so I'll be honest with you. When I was younger, I used to sing and I performed on sort of theatre shows and talent shows and all those types of things. And I've always been interested in showbiz. And I was like, I want to be an international superstar. That didn't quite happen. As part of my theatre school that I was at, I was actually invited to go down to the SMTV Live studios as a cheerleader. And SMTV Live, for those of you who may not be old enough to know what that is, it was a sort of kids entertainment show on a Saturday morning, and it was presented by Anton Deck and Kat Deely, and it was really, like funny and entertaining, and it was just like a really cool show. And as being part of that show, being on screen and just seeing what it was like being on a TV set, like studio cameras, lights, the presenters, the crew, like it really excited me. And I just knew that I wanted to be a part of the industry, whether that's on screen or behind the camera. Um, and yeah, so that's really was my first inkling of knowing that I wanted to work within the television industry. I would say though that growing up, I was sat in front of the TV. That sounds so terrible, but I spent a lot of time watching a large variety of television programs, and I'm talking Last of the Summer Wine
Right.
and random stuff that someone like me, I'm a working class mixed race girl from Southeast London, and I'm sat in front of the TV watching Last of the Summer Wine. Like, what is that? And by the way, Last of Summer Wine was a very old program, similar to like the same era as like 40 Towers and stuff. And it was just like a soap kind of like drama based on these like old Yorkshire guys, and they just get up to mischief.
I mean, that sounds pretty fun.
But yeah, so it's like I grew up with a large eclectic viewing of a variety of different programs, and it really helped me and it made me understand the industry. And yeah, and I knew as well when I entered the industry, when I first started the industry, that there wasn't many people like me in the industry. And I think that's what powers me on today.
I suppose it's that thing of you want to be that person for other people, I suppose, in a way.
Exactly. It's about helping others,
Exactly, and I think that's what it all comes back to. I think the more we can help people, the more that you can open up the industry, the better and more inclusive and just happier the whole industry is. And like I said, the happier and more inclusive the industry is, I think that reflects on screen and the content is just better. So it's a win-win for everyone.
Totally.
Completely.
So how do you go from I wanted to be a big superstar to a production manager? How did you make that jump? How did you get to where you are? Tell me a bit about that trajectory and into television and wanting to be in production management role. What was that all about?
I first started in college and I did a BTEC in media. And then whilst I was at college, there was a social media network called MySpace, which was way before Facebook.
I remember having a MySpace. I remember having a Bebo as well, just because I remember you could have like a cool timeline at the top, and that's what attracted me to it. But yeah, it was right towards the end of Bebo days that I had it.
Yeah, definitely. So I used MySpace as a platform for me to promote myself and my passion for the media industry. And I contacted a company and they actually allowed me to work for them as a producer. So they trained me up as a producer on music videos. And this was when, if you like music, this is when the grime period was getting into like, popularity.
Yeah.
And I essentially just produced lots of music videos. I worked for artists such as Ed Sheeran and Giggs and Skepta,
Wow.
a few notable artists that I worked with on producing their music videos. And then whilst I was there at college and I was working for this company, I then moved on to university where I did a degree at Ravensbourne. It was called Content Creation and Broadcast. I got a BA honours in that. Whilst I was at university, it was a really interesting time actually, because I got to actually be around a lot of different people that I wasn't used to. Like I said, I'm a South East London working class girl, and I was around people that I wouldn't usually associate with. So I was like, this is different, but we all love like TV. I'm all creative. I'm all like passionate about the industry. So it was
You've all
pretty
got that
cool,
love.
fun.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's about passion. It's about drive. It's like, regardless of who you are or where you come from, you can still succeed in life and in the industry. You just have to have that passion and motivation to get you where you need to get to. But yeah, that's how I first kind of started out. And then when I graduated from university, I got my first in at a company called Virgin Media. I know it's not really telly, but I was a marketing intern on their entrepreneurships platform. And I met Richard Branson, and that was all fun and dandy. I was there for 3 months, but it wasn't TV. It was like, this is an amazing opportunity, you know, I'm doing this and doing that, but it's not TV.
It's not where you want to be. It's not got that. Yeah, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
So what I did was I applied for a audience researcher role on the X Factor USA. And that was my first TV job, like properly professionally. And I worked on sociable hours at Elstree at a company called Applause Store, which deal with a lot of audiences for studio programs. So I was researching audiences and getting audiences in terms of the X Factor in the USA. So that was really good. And then I got my first contract as an archive researcher after that, which is a completely different role. And that was working on a history program. And I was actually, that was my first proper contract where I was paid like per week for a month. I think I was contracted for about 6 months on that. And that was really cool. And that's for a company called WAG Entertainment.
Oh wow. I like the fact that you seem to not have had a straight path of going straight into production management. You've kind of, I suppose, gone where the opportunities were.
Exactly. But I would say that production management is something that I've always been good at doing. So going back to when I was producing music videos, I would deal with budgets of £500 to £1,000, and I would do all the call sheets. I would book everyone, book all the locations, get the models, get the artists. Like I would be the organizer from that. And that's how I really learned my production management skills, like the basis of my production management skills. And I've just run with that.
I think that's a really good point to make, because I've always thought that sometimes like you come across people, or even myself, sometimes you're doing a job that you may not necessarily enjoy, or maybe not enjoying the show that you're working on, but that doesn't mean that you don't take the most out of it. I think what's really important to say is that whenever I've done certain jobs that maybe I didn't necessarily enjoy, I'm still getting something out of it, because I'm still learning skills that are valuable transferable skills that are valuable on multiple productions going forward. So regardless of what the show is, you're still learning. You can take that on to the next job, which might be something you end up loving.
Exactly. And I think just, you know, going on from that, it's about when you're entering industry or you're just starting out, take every opportunity you can. Even if you're like, oh, I don't even want to do that, or that's not really what I want to do. I want to work in scripted, but it's factual. Just do it, because you don't know where it will lead to. Be positive. Don't be picky. Take all opportunities. Do you get what I mean? That's the only way really to progress.
I always wanted to work in drama. That's where I wanted to be. I worked in Casualty. There was a few days on Doctor Who and a few other shows, and I enjoyed it. But at the time I started working on them, I also fell into Factual. I applied for Bargain and ended up getting a job on Crime Watch. 4 years later, still there, and absolutely love it. And I just basically basically fell in love with that whole world. I still do the odd days on Casualty because I'm still dealing with people. I'm learning how to work on a set, so that's the skill I managed to take from that to Crime Watch. So it's like I said, it's useful to work on things that maybe you're always going to get something out of every job, regardless of your opinion on the show or the production or the job that you're doing. But yeah, I switched over to Crime Watch and absolutely just loved speaking to people into documentaries and basically just talking to real people and telling their stories and stuff. It's a completely different world that I hadn't ever thought about until I just happened to fall into it.
100%, 100%, 100%. So important.
So focusing a bit on your role as a production manager, can you talk to me a bit about the day-to-day tasks?
Okay, so as a production manager, I'm in control of the budget. So I have to ensure that I'm not spending above any lines. And what that means is if you have hotels at 10 grand, I'm not spending more than 10 grand. If anything, I'm spending underneath that to ensure that there is money saved in the budget. So it's making sure that the program is fully delivered on budget, on schedule, and on spec. Okay. And that means editorially, legally, compliancy, even if that's a word, but just in like every way that the production is managed effectively from beginning to end. And that's what a production manager does. It's very organizational, it's very logistical. You need to be good with numbers, you have to have good attention to detail, you need to know a lot of people in the industry as well. So when you're crewing up, it's easy for you.
I suppose being a production manager, you've got to be good with people. I suppose you're in charge of a large amount of people. So when you're taking on newcomers to the industry, what do you say to them? What would you say you look for in a newcomer? What should they know if they're coming into a brand new production? What do you think is important for a day one runner to know?
I look for initiative, proactiveness, enthusiasm, just general common sense. Does that make sense? Like before I even say, it's being done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, proactiveness, someone that's on the ball, someone that's enthusiastic, happy to be there, on time, all of those things is just really important to be.
I was always someone that never really enjoyed talking to people. The thought of even doing something like this, I would have absolutely terrified me only a couple of years ago. So the moment I worked on Crime Watch, and I suppose even in TV in general, and having to talk to a large amount of people every day, it was a complete culture shock for me. But I don't think that should be something that puts people off. I think you've just got to be a good runner, and because I absolutely loved being a runner, and sometimes I'm sad that I'm an assistant producer now because I'd love to be a runner again because I think it's the most fun job that you can do, or one of. You get to talk to everyone, you get to see the whole every part of production, you get to see everything, which is so exciting.
Definitely, I agree with that. I ran on a few shows. I did a show for the BBC called Tumble, which was Strictly Come Dancing but with gymnastics, and it was a complete flop. I was running and logging on that on location with Christian from EastEnders. That's my claim to fame. And also, and also, rest in peace, Sarah Harding, who was beautiful and amazing. So yeah, I mean, it was a great show, and it was a great opportunity for me to work with, different celebrities and crew, and being the help that you need for a production to happen. And I would just say, and a piece of advice for all runners that are starting out is, we know it's hard. Everyone that's in the industry at production management level, AP level, we've all done running, so we know what it's like. Just keep at it. Don't give up. As long as you're reliable, dependable, and you want to be in this industry, you will do well.
Like you say, as long as you're passionate and you have that willingness to help out, I feel like, and as long as you ask questions as well, that's the main thing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. If you don't know, like, if there's something you don't know, like, always ask. Don't be like, okay, and then be like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I don't know what. Like, you just ask. It's completely fine.
So staying on the same kind of topic as runners, say someone was to apply to be a PMA, or if they wanted to get into production management, what would you say to that person? What would you look for in a PMA? Or can you explain to me a bit about what a PMA is actually, that entry level role, I suppose, into production management?
A PMA is a role within the BBC, which is a production management assistant. They're known as production secretaries or production coordinators in the indie circuit. So, for example, if you work for an indie, it could be any indie, whether it's factual or scripted or unscripted or scripted, what have you.
Mm.
You either have runners, production assistants, production secretaries, production coordinators, and JPMs, which are junior production managers. Then you have production managers. In the BBC, from what I'm aware of, PMAs are on the same level as production secretaries. Okay. So they would assist with like general, like taxi booking, booking travel, booking accommodation, booking kit,
Mm.
keeping up to date with logs, emailing suppliers, creating paperwork such as call sheets and well, maybe not risk assessments, maybe risk assessments, but that's more the coordinators and production managers. But they would assist the production coordinators and the production managers with any production orientated tasks that would need to happen for the shoot. But it would be, for me, like a PMA or production secretary or production coordinator is all about supporting your next head. So whoever you're reporting to, just support them as best as you can and just use all of those organizational skills, the coordinatory skills, like logistical,
Mm.
just literally show off at what you do, because trust me, you will be appreciated for that.
Absolutely agree. And that is just proof that you learn something new every day. I didn't realize that PMAs were probably just a BBC role. That's fascinating. Thank you for that.
Oh, well, you do learn
So,
something every
Faith,
day.
I know you're passionate about training and opening up the world of telly to everyone as well. What would you say makes a good CV to someone starting out? Because the thing is, when you finish university, or if you're wanting to get into telly having not gone to university, it might be that you don't have anything really that to put on your CV, or you don't know what to put on there. It could look like a very empty piece of paper. I mean, I remember looking at my own CV, and it was good. It got me jobs, but it was very empty. And I found myself trying to, I suppose, fill it with stuff that wasn't important. So what would you say you should put on a CV that would help you stand out?
Okay, so CVs are the show off document to your life. It's like, make this document the best it can possibly be. Show off about your skills, show
Mm.
off about your experiences, or if you don't have any experiences, your education and your passion and your enthusiasm for the industry. I tell all of my clients that a CV should start off with a personal profile. Okay, obviously you have personal details. Put
Mm.
your name, contact number, email address, maybe your LinkedIn profile or your talent manager profile, if you have one. You don't need anything else. And then you will have GDPR statements. And that just basically allows employers to share or process your CV for recruiting purposes. So you just need a line on that. After that, you need to have a strong mission statement. That mission statement needs to be 3 to 5 lines detailing exactly who you are, what you do, and what you want to achieve within the industry. So it summarizes all of your skills and your experiences and your education in 3 to 5 lines effectively. Then after that, I always say, chuck in some key skills, because key skills are very, very important. So when you think of key skills, if you have like some projects that you've done at university, maybe you directed a film, or you produced a film, or just AD'd or helped out, or whatever you did, write out, say, 3 to 5 or even 8, maybe 10 key skills, just detailing the words and the sentence
Mm.
of how you did that. So an example could be, so you could be working in education. You could be in education or just graduating and you directed a short film. You can have key skill, let me try and think. Key skill, creative direction. And then you could say, at university, I directed a short film which involved me directing cast and location, putting castings out, directing the crew, the camera shots, etc., etc., etc. Obviously, when you're first starting out, you're not going to get a director role straight away. You will get an entry level role, which would be runner, junior researcher, logger, production assistant, those types of roles. But it's always good to show off and showcase your existing skills that you have that you can bring to a production company or broadcaster. Now, after key skills, it would be education or it would be experience. If you have more experience than education, you put the experience below key skills. If you have more education than experience, you put the education below key skills. And you basically just list all the projects that you've worked on and all the projects that you've done at university or college, and you just detail what you did on each of those work experiences and education courses that you've done. After that, you then just put any industry training, if there's anything special, like any awards, like you might have won an awards at university or any clubs or anything that you've been involved with, but that's not 100% necessary. After that, I would end with references. But with references, you wouldn't necessarily need to have you would put the name, role, and company, but you don't need to put their contact details. You can either do that or just put references available on request, either or. But that's how I tell all of my clients to write CVs. So you got some good nuggets from me today.
Thank you. I wasn't
But I
expecting
would
so much.
say, but I would say, CVs, it is a work of art, and I've been writing CVs for years and years and years, and helping clients with CVs for years and years and years. And I do have actually a YouTube video on how to write a CV, so feel free to check that out. It's on my website.
If you're listening, then please go and check that out. You'll be able to write the perfect CV.
Oh, amazing. Love that.
That's all right. You mentioned training there, and I just wanted to know from you, do you know of anything, say I was wanting to get into production management, do you know of anything, what training opportunities are out there for people that want to get into that line of work?
Okay, so there is a variety of different training programs available for people that want to get into production management. I have a training program. I have an intro to production management course, and I have an advanced production management course. Okay, so you can go on my website and have a look around and book, or send me an email if you're interested, and I can discuss more about that with you. So I would say training opportunities, you can book onto one of my courses. There's also Screen Skills, which is very well known for courses in production management and also throughout the industry. So I would say my website and Screen Skills, I would highly recommend.
When you were talking about your website, I did see you got basically you got a lot of passion for engaging and empowering disadvantaged young people. And this might sound like an obvious question, but I mean, we have kind of touched on it already as well. But why would you say it's important to you? And what would you say to anyone listening that is from somewhere that from a disadvantaged background, from a non-privileged position that wants to get into TV? Why is it important, and what avenues can people from disadvantaged backgrounds go through to get into TV?
Okay, let's put it this way. Myself, we've already said this already. I'm from a working class background from Southeast London, mixed race, Cockney, or however you want to put it. You don't see many people like me within the industry, okay? Luckily, there are people like me in the industry to be the face and the authoritative figure of, or shall I say, a role model or an example to others, to say, just because, there might not be many people like us in the industry, we're still here, okay? And I would say that there are other organizations such as Mama Youth Project, which is the leading organization.
I've heard so much good stuff about Mama Youth Projects.
They do amazing stuff. Like, they have their own programs, like literally broadcasted programs that the cohorts. So if you apply, you can apply, like go on their website. You actually work on programs. You get trained up specifically in roles. Like, it's absolutely amazing. And everyone gets a job at the end of it. Bob Clark, who's the MD of Mama Youth Project, I've known for years and years and years. So big up Bob Clark. Also, I would say, for me, coming from a disadvantaged background myself, you know, there's been certain things that's happened in my life that you'd think, oh my gosh, and you work in TV, how the hell have you done that? But it's like, it's down to you as an individual. If you're going through certain things in your life or whatever it may be, you need to think to yourself, I want to work in TV. What can I do to change my situation to make things better for me and enter the industry? And just really be positive and be determined and make friends and really get into a positive mind space and really get yourself into the industry through networking, go to networking events, get out of your comfort zone, you know, push yourself forward, because that's what I had to do and it paid off.
Networking is one of my least favorite things ever. I know we have to do it, but the more the more I do it, the more I enjoy it. I go to a lot of screenings, and I think that they're a lot easier in some ways. I know that RTS they do a student membership for free, I'm sure, and I'm sure BAFTA do something similar where you can get to go to free screenings and stuff. And sometimes they'll have people there doing Q&As, and I think they're a lot easier in some ways than specific industry events. But yeah, no, definitely. I think networking is that it's that thing, and it's such a thing that I know so many people dislike, but it's so key to what we do.
And even if you're shy and you're not confident like me, like if you're shy, it's completely fine. Like
Yeah.
what I always say to my clients is when you enter a room and if you might feel nervous or anxious or like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? Who do I speak to? What am I doing? Just read the room, read the room. And then when you feel comfortable to speak to someone, speak to someone. But I would also say that when you're thinking about that, usually someone will be speaking to you before you even thought about it anyway, because everyone's always talking to everyone anyway.
Yeah.
And it's okay to feel the way you feel, like, but it is important to just start talking. And it's okay. Like everyone's there for the same reason, you know?
Exactly.
Sticking on the theme of getting into TV, obviously it's really difficult out there at the minute for freelancers. There's not much work, and I know the other day Beck2 put up the stat about 65% of workers being out of work, which is really sad. And obviously, people that are already in industry, it's hard for them. So, what would you say to someone wanting to get into the industry? What would be, how can they approach getting into somewhere that I suppose is very difficult and barren right now?
Sticking on the theme of getting into TV.
So they're right. In regards to there being a lack of work, I get it.
Yeah.
Everyone's in the same boat. I get it completely and honestly. But that should never deter you from achieving your ambitions and your goals. And what I say to my clients is that you should and you will find work. It's a matter of you actioning on steps daily, not like, oh, I'll send a CV here today, I'll wait a couple of days, then I'll send a CV here. You need to be actively sending CVs. Like,
It's about building that relationship, isn't it? Like, I mean, we always get told in my AP program that I'm on that it's always good to to not just send your CV out to people, and not just ask a question, but to kind of like, I suppose, for example, the other day, I recently just finished filming my first film for Crime Watch, and I showed it to Kate Ward, who's head of Factual in BBC Studios, and rather than just and what I thought might be nice is for me to just email my talent manager, and just say, I've just shown Kate Ward my film, she loved it, and instead of just because I just thought it might be quite nice rather than me constantly asking her for work. Instead, I'm giving her something. I think that's a real key thing, that sometimes it's good to give back, I suppose.
and it is definitely what you've said. It's about building relationships. So obviously, your first port of call will be to send your CV because you're looking for work. But also, it is about developing that relationship. So if you don't hear anything, give it a couple of weeks, then send another nudge and just be like, hi, just to let you know, I'm still available for work, but I have been doing this or this has happened. Like, that's always good.
Completely agree, and it goes back to that same thing that we all have that fear of annoying people, but I suppose in a way they're expecting it. They do the exact same thing, so you're not annoying these people. It's just the way of the industry. I get that fear of sending my email out every now and again, and being like, here's my CV. I hate doing it, but I need work, and they know exactly what I want. And that's the thing, they know what you want. You just got to do it. You just got to be there. You've got to be known, and you've got to be seen.
100%. 100%. It's absolutely vital. And also it's important to learn from people that have done what you want to do as well.
One thing I always get told is, especially now on this AP program that I'm on, to look at someone that's 5 years ahead of me and then ask them, how did you get to where you are? What steps did they take? Because that's the best way, I suppose, of looking at where you need to be and what steps you need to take in order to be them.
100%. That's brilliant advice. And I think, 5 years, it might seem like a long time, but you blink twice and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm 50. Like, no, but time does fly. So I think 5 years is a good starting point, definitely, to be looking at role models and people that you want to aspire to be like. And there's no harm in just reaching out to people, honestly. If you watch a program and you're like, oh, I love the way that's directed, or I love the way that's been produced, or I love the way that's been production managed, reach out.
There was a show, documentary out a few weeks ago called The Great Runner Robbery. It's 3 parts, BBC Studios doc, and it's on Sky and now TV. It's honestly really, really good. Highly recommend if you're into documentaries. It's like a big heist European thriller movie and true crime. But basically, I emailed the exec on that, and he emailed me back. And then when I was in London a few weeks ago, I got introduced to him, and so we instantly had that connection, and so we were able to chat, and it really does work. It's just that people love to have their egos stroked, I suppose.
Totally. And that was very, very valid what you said there. Definitely. It's a good way of connecting. It's definitely a very good way of connecting.
What do you wish you knew about production management and TV in general before you started working in the industry? Like everything that you know now, what do you wish you knew back then? What was that thing that I suppose that you learned maybe the hard way, or were there any mistakes that you learned, or were there any mistakes that you learned that you could potentially share with us?
Trust your gut instinct. Because there's been times where I've took jobs which I shouldn't have taken. And then there's been times where I've been offered jobs which I've let down. So it's like, always trust your gut instinct. If you're offered 2 jobs and you're like, I want to go for this one, but this one, just go with what your mind is telling you. If your mind and your heart is saying go for it, just do it. Like, don't ask anyone else. Just go for your gut instinct. And I would say that's the thing that I would say. I wish that I had that starting out, because there'd been a few times when I took jobs and it was just like, I should have just taken the other job. But that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes.
I think that's really good advice, I think, definitely, because it's one of them industries where if you're lucky, you get that privilege to be able to, I suppose, pick where you want to go.
100%. When you're in demand, you can get offered like plenty of jobs, and then you've got to pick like what job you want. Yeah, so I would say that definitely.
This is one question that I don't always ask, but I feel like this is a good conversation to ask it in. Some people go to university and some people don't. Do you think it's important to go to university? Do you think there's a benefit? Or do you think there's benefits to both ways getting into the industry?
Thing that there is definitely a benefit to education and learning and going to university. Number one, because you're around people that you may not necessarily be around. Number two, it's good for networking and opportunities. And number three, it's good to just learn, just learn and up your knowledge and your intellectualness and what have you. It's really good to just have that insight. On the other hand, if you was in college and you was going straight into work, if you can get a job and you've like just left college, you're laughing because it's like you could just enter the industry, go straight into it, and you don't have to have those 2 to 3 years and student loans and all that, the rest of it. But I would say there's pros and cons of both.
Definitely.
Like, it really depends on, if you're listening, it just depends on your own, like, what your current life situation is to make that decision. I do get asked that a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I get asked that a lot. Like, should I go to university or should I go straight into work? I'm like, apply for university and apply for it and do that. But at the same time, look for work and then see what happens and then go for it.
I never wanted to go to university. And then one day I went to college and applied to uni. And basically, I ended up applying and getting into university a month before I ended up having to move to Cardiff. And my mom had a complete, basically, heart attack. She was like, what do you mean you're going to university next month? But yeah, it was one of them things I never wanted to do, but I was given an opportunity and I just ran with it. And I probably would say that university gave me them social skills and it gave me time to play. But yeah, you've definitely got to do what fits you. And as long as you have that drive, you have that passion, and as long as you're able to, I suppose, play and make things, that's your best way. You just got to show that passion.
100%. When I was at university, I directed a entertainment show. I was in the gallery with the vision mixer, and I was like the director. To be honest, I don't think the show was that good, but I absolutely loved it. It was like the best feeling in the world. Like, it was just so fun.
We did that in university too. Me and my friend, we all did something similar to that. It was like one of our first shows, our first live gallery show. And we were painting the sets and everything. It looked awful, so awful. And it was called, what was it called? It was something like Off the Curve. I think it was meant to be like a music show. So we were going for things like TGI Fridays, or was it that one with Chris Evans from the 90s? But yeah, it was awful. But yeah, you just got to pick up, if you're at university, pick up your phone, make something, and that's it. Just show your passion.
Our phones, we should use them for creating content, because obviously the TV industry and streamers is very competitive. And at the moment, streamers are on the upside. So even if you can create your own content just starting out, you're already winning.
The director I was working with recently, the phone he's got, he was saying it's basically built the same quality as the camera that he uses, which is absolutely incredible. I've spoken a lot about production management, and so my final question is, I just want to know, what have you been watching and listening to? Give me your recommendations, because I need some.
Oh my God, me. To be honest, like, I watch the random stuff on YouTube. Like, I'm a YouTube girl, so I'll watch how-to videos on YouTube. I'm all about learning like new social media techniques, or like how to like make more money as a business person. I'm not gonna lie, and I love my music videos. I will watch music content forever.
I was saying to my boyfriend the other day, because we were just sat there on a Friday night with like 2 bottles of wine down on a Friday, just watching old music videos, and we've been missing the days of, like, I suppose, watching MTV, and oh my God, being like, you can just like watch MTV and watch the music videos like Kerrang. It was like not event viewing, but I do miss that kind of event viewership for music videos.
I know. I used to love that. Was it MTV Base that had all like the rap and everything?
Yeah.
I just love music. Like, music is one of my passions. So I watch a lot of music content. I watch a lot of, I like entertainment shows, like Love is Blind on Netflix, and you know them lovey-dovey shows, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, I love, like, do you know what I mean?
I absolutely get you. I mean, everyone watches different things. I mean, I currently working on Crime Watch, so the last thing I want to watch after a heavy day filming a crime is something crime related. So I'll probably do like a whole day's filming, and every day after a shoot, I always find myself in the hotel watching First Dates, and I wouldn't watch First Dates at any other point in my life, but after a Crime Watch shoot, it is perfect.
I've worked on First Dates, actually. It was really interesting. I worked there as a logger years and years ago. It was an interesting show to work on. It was I think it was one of the first series I worked on, actually. It's a good show.
Is there anything else that you want to say that I haven't asked you?
You can always follow me on Instagram, Georgina Bobb, 2 B's at the end, TV, and you can visit my website, which is georginabobb.tv. I just want to say a big thank you to you, Tom, because you've gone out of your way to create this amazing platform for newbies to learn about TV. So big kudos to you. You're absolutely incredible. Keep it up. I can't wait to see you produce and exec produce and be the boss king of the world.
I can only dream.
Yeah, 100%. And I just want everyone to know that, you know, regardless of where you are, you can make it in this industry, okay? It can happen. I'm your cheerleader. You know, if there's anything that I can help you with, feel free to drop me a line. and, you know, let's get making TV, let's get the industry inclusive, truly inclusive. Everyone run into the industry and let's make it happen.
I mean, I feel like that's the best way to end this podcast. Absolutely the best way. Thank you so much, Georgina.
You're welcome, my love. It's been lovely speaking to you. And I'm just so glad that I've had this chat with you, because it's just been nice.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Honestly, Georgina was amazing. Like I said in the episode, please do go and check out her website and her social media. She will gladly help you if you want any tips into getting into this industry. Just follow her on Georgina Bobb TV on Instagram, LinkedIn. I think she's on Twitter too. But I will be back next week talking all things casting with Hannah Walker. Obviously, we've done drama, but this time it's going to be all about unscripted. I've got loads more episodes planned over the next coming weeks. Make sure to check back on TikTok, on YouTube, on Spotify, on Google, on Apple. We are everywhere. Let everyone know about the podcast, especially if they want to get into TV. Thank you.